This is the Akai MPK Mini MK4, and yes, they finally gave us what we wanted. And I think the new features put this keyboard back on top, or at least close to the top. In fact, I've been super critical of the previous model in the past, but that all changes today. Now, let me be clear, this keyboard is not perfect. Are there better keys out there? Yes. And better DAW control? Maybe. But here's the thing. I think the updates they've made are going to make this a big seller. They added almost everything it was missing before, and this one new feature is going to change Akai keyboards forever. Let me give you a quick overview of the controls. By the way, I've tried almost all the mini keyboards out there, so I'll let you know how this one stacks up, and you'll find links to every keyboard I talk about in this video below. For those of you new to keyboards like this is a MIDI controller. You use it to play sounds generated by your computer or to control your DAW. It doesn't have sounds built in. Okay, let's see what we've got. On the left, you've got pitch and mod wheels. Finally, they got rid of the old joystick. You've got octave up and down keys. There's no transpose feature built in. You have 8 RGB pads, velocity and pressure sensitive. The pads also let you access other features like the new chords and scale features, as well as some DAW functions like clip triggering in Ableton. Below that, you've got the arpeggiator, latch for holding the arp, note repeat, everyone loves that, tap tempo, and a bank switcher. You basically have 2 sets of banks. The shift button lets you access other functions like full level and turning your DAW's metronome on or off. They've now included a color screen. It's pretty small, so keep your expectations in check, but color does give you some nice feedback. You'll see lots of info here, including feedback from your DAW. The encoder here controls the screen functions, as well as DAW navigation. The plus and minus buttons let you control a bunch of things, including track selection in your DAW, and also Akai's new studio instrument, which is super cool. I can't wait to show you that. And then on the right, you've got 8 endless encoders for controlling plugins, mixing, or adjusting settings for the built-in arpeggiator. And wow, finally, Akai has included dedicated transport controls on the MPK Mini MK4. This was a glaring omission on the previous versions, and it's finally here. So you can control your DAWs, play, stop, record, loop, undo, redo, quantize, and automation and overdub. Very cool, and honestly, this finally brings the MPK Mini up to par with other mini keyboards on the market. So what's missing? Well, a couple things. Before I get to that, I'm using a new microphone today. It's the Audio-Technica BP40, and it's perfect for videos like these, and even vocals on your tracks. The BP40 is a large diaphragm dynamic vocal microphone, and it's designed for broadcast, so speaking voices like this sound excellent. I really find the tone rich and kind of like condenser mics, but without the worry about the mic picking up every sound from the room. Yeah, this mic will keep those distracting noises and even your room reverb in check. It's built really well. This is all metal here, and it even comes with its own pouch and clip. The shock mount you're seeing here is sold separately, but it's really nice to have. When I first started recording music at home, my first mic was an Audio-Technica. They have a great reputation, and I'd highly recommend the BP40 if you're recording at home or for professional recording as well. I'll add a link to the BP40 below, and thanks to the team for sponsoring this video. Okay, so what's missing on the MPK Mini MK4? Well, you don't have faders. If you like using faders, they allow you to adjust multiple tracks or parameters with one hand. You don't have that on this keyboard. Both Arturia and M Audio put faders on their mini keyboards. So what else? Well, here's a good thing it's missing: the old joystick from the previous version. The joystick was for pitch and mod. This is something no one liked before, and they finally gotten rid of it and have included wheels instead. Other things missing are kind of expected. There's no aftertouch on these keys. You get that extra pressure sensitivity on the pads. Okay, let's talk about the keyboard itself. They've updated the keys and they are better, bigger for sure, and that makes playing a whole lot easier. The keys are velocity sensitive, and with all the features they've added, I really hope Akai makes a 49 key version of this keyboard as well. But the touch is nearly identical to the old model. It's decent, maybe a bit too light for me, and not the best keybed on the market. That prize goes to the Arturia Minilab. So how about the new pads? Well, they feel excellent. I love the stiffness of the pads and they are inspiring to play. But, and this might be a big one for you, they've actually made the pads smaller on the Mark IV. I didn't notice it at first and I had to get my measuring tape out, but yeah, they are smaller, probably to make room for more buttons and features. Still, I prefer these pads to every mini keyboard out there. All right, so DAW Control has improved a lot on the Mark IV. But before we get to that, there's one new feature that is a game changer for Akai, and I really hope they keep developing it. It's virtual instrument integration with Akai's brand new Studio Instrument. Let me show you. One of the most satisfying things you can do with a MIDI controller is have hands-on direct control of the sounds you're playing. And in the past, that wasn't easy to do on Akai keyboards without a bunch of manual mapping. That changes now. Akai has come out with a virtual instrument to accompany the Mark IV. They're calling it Studio Instrument, which is a confusing name actually. Imagine saying, hey, can you load up that Studio Instrument? Which one? Which Studio Instrument? The Akai one. Oh, okay. Anyway, here's why this is important. Virtual instrument control is something Arturia and Native Instruments have excelled at, making their mini keyboards work seamlessly with virtual sounds. Well, Akai is now competing. Their Studio Instrument can be run standalone or as a plugin in your DAW, and it gives you instant tactile control when used with the MPK keyboard. So, load it up, and you can use the buttons here to navigate presets. And the knobs automatically map to the controls on the screen. You can change views and browse more sounds. Load a drum kit, and the pads automatically map. Just play. This is a step in the right direction for Akai, and mind you, they're pulling sounds from their sister companies like Air and Moog, and also the MPC libraries, so we should expect the Studio Instrument collection to grow. Now, you can't ignore that this interface looks a bit like the Native Instruments Complete Control software and a bit of Arturia's Analog Lab as well. It looks like they've taken what's worked well and are building on that themselves. Now, with this instrument, Akai is slowly moving into Native Instruments and Arturia territory when it comes to virtual instrument control. Now, as far as the keyboards from these companies, Arturia will give you a bit more with their 8 knobs plus 4 faders, and the Minilab might be the right keyboard if you're heavy into Arturia instruments. When it comes to Native Instruments, they've recently opened up their Complete Control software to work with non-Native Instruments gear, and I expect we'll see compatibility with the MPK Mark IV as well. Now, let me know in the comments which feature matters most to you. The keys, the ARP, the DAW Control, or maybe the new software integration. Leave a comment below. All right, DAW Control next, but I realized I didn't show you the back, and you can kind of see it here, but you've got a USB-C connection, a port for a sustain pedal, and a full-size MIDI port as well. Also, real quick about form factor. This is very close to the size of the previous Mark III. It's about an inch wider and a little bit taller as well. The build actually feels like it's improved. Buttons, knobs feel more pro. The Mark III felt a bit too much like a toy. This one, a whole lot better. It's still light enough to throw in a backpack or carry around anywhere. And at launch, it comes in two colors. This white one with red trim and a black one with red trim. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps me out. Thanks. Now, DAW integration has improved as well. If you're producing music at home or on the go, you'll be able to use the controls on the MPK Mark IV without having to always reach for your mouse when you're using your DAW. Now, I'm going to go through the basics here, but for your specific DAW, refer to the chapters at the end of the video for a full guide on how to use the MPK Mini Mark IV with your DAW. I go through each and every cool new feature. Okay, the biggest improvement for all DAWs is the dedicated transport controls here. You have everything you need: undo, redo, loop on and off, a play stop button, record, quantize, automation, and overdub. I really think these are going to be the buttons you use most when it comes to DAW control, but there's more. With major DAWs, you'll be able to use Akai's pre-programmed DAW mappings for Ableton Live, Logic Pro, FL Studio, Bitwig, and Cubase, which will give you access to mixer controls using the knobs. So adjusting volume, pan, sends, easy to do here. You'll also be able to see what you're adjusting on the screen. I'm using Ableton Live right now and adjusting the Ableton device, and I see what parameter I'm changing and the unit of measure, which is excellent. Also in Ableton, they've now given us clip and scene launching. That's an Ableton specific feature, and it's really nice to see Akai included. Okay, so a great improvement, but do other keyboards do it better? Well, it depends on what you need. If you're an Ableton user, you might really prefer the Novation Launchkey, which will give you deeper Ableton integration, more pads for clip triggering, and a dedicated sequencer for Ableton as well. And if you really want faders for adjusting mixer controls, the M-Audio Oxygen Pro will give you a few faders. For Logic, the MPK Mini Mark IV works well. The knobs switch between smart controls, volumes, pans, and sends, and the pads can switch modes for drums, track arm, mute solo, or live loops. Now, if you're into FL Studio, you may have considered the Novation FLKey Mini. The FLKey Mini is built from the ground up for FL Studio. The 16 pads tie directly into the channel rack, and it gives you a full step sequencer mode right on the hardware. The MPK Mini Mark IV also integrates with FL Studio, but in a more general way. Its encoders scroll through channels, and the knobs handle channel or mixer volumes, pan sends, and EQ across banks. You also get transport, overdub, and quantize functions, but no built-in sequencer or dedicated channel rack pad layout. All right, so Akai has included ARP features in the past, but now they've also added chord and scale features on the Mark IV. First up is the arpeggiator, and this is not just a simple up and down ARP. You can edit each step of the pattern using the pads and add things like ratchets, ties, accents, and even a mutate function that randomly shifts octaves for variation. There's also an ARP freeze mode, which lets the ARP keep going while you play something else over it. Really useful for building layers. Then there's the chord mode, which lets you play full chords with one key. You can pick from presets like major sevens, minor sevens, or create your own chord shapes and even change inversions. And finally, there is the scale feature. You can select a scale and then just basically play anything and never hit a wrong note. It includes everything from basic, major, minor, to more advanced scales like Dorian and even flamenco and bebop. These modes can work together too, so you can arpeggiate chords in a scale and still stay in key, which is really nice. Now, most mini keyboards these days have included ARP, chord, and scale features, so it's nice to see Akai doing that as well. However, Novation has given us a bit more on the the Launchkey Mini, including some inspiring chord progressions with their chord sets feature. All right, final thoughts, and remember to stick around for my full guide for Live, Logic, and FL Studio later in the video. So the Akai MPK Mini MK4 is a huge evolution for Akai. If you're looking for a mini MIDI controller that's versatile, portable, and now way more capable than it used to be, this is a strong choice. If you want a solid all-rounder that now has proper DAW control, excellent pads for finger drumming, ARP and chord features, and a growing virtual instrument ecosystem, the MPK Mini MK4 is probably the one to get. I think Akai really listened to what producers wanted. They filled in the gaps, kept what works, and added some new tools that make a real difference. I'll put a link below if you're ready to check it out or purchase it. Let me know in the comments what feature you're most excited about, or if you've already picked up one, let me know how you're using it in your setup. Now let's quickly walk through how the MPK Mini MK4 works with each of the major DAWs. These are short, so if you use Ableton, Logic, or FL Studio, I've got you covered. You can skip to your DAW using the chapters below the video, and feel free to come back to this video when you need a refresher on how to control your DAW. And hey, if you're thinking about putting your music out there, DistroKid is a simple and fast way to get your music onto Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, pretty much everywhere. And DistroKid collects earnings for you when anyone plays or purchases your music. It's simple to use and includes tools to help you build your audience. I've created 2 videos on DistroKid that will probably answer any questions you have. Watch them right here, and if you're ready to sign up, use the link below to get 7% off your first year of membership. All right, let's start with Ableton Live. The MPK Mini MK4 gives you 3 modes on the pads, one for playing drum racks, one for launching clips in a 4x4 grid, and one for arming and stopping tracks. You can scroll across the session view vertically using the encoder and push the encoder to launch a scene. You can navigate across tracks using the plus and minus buttons. The 8 knobs either control device parameters or your mixer. Just hold the shift and then encoder to switch between device and mixer settings. You can adjust volume and pans in the mixer mode, and also up to 14 sends per track. Knob 1 controls pan and knob 5 controls volume. The other knobs are all sends. It's important to note that you're only controlling the mixer controls for one track at a time. I wish they'd let us control multiple track volumes at once. Anyway, for Ableton device control, you can scroll through multiple banks of knobs using shift and plus or minus. You can also switch control between devices of your current track using shift plus the encoder. And remember, you can always check the screen to find out what you're adjusting. Finally, the transport section gives you play, stop, record, overdub, the last button here, quantize with shift, undo, redo, it's all here. And over on the left, you can even use the tap tempo button to tap the tempo in your DAW and turn the metronome on and off with the shift button. For Logic Pro, you've got transport buttons that control play, stop, record, cycle, undo, redo, quantize, and automation. The 8 knobs control 4 modes. Shift and the plus and minus buttons changes the mode. You can control track levels and pan, EQ, and navigation. And even plug in parameters with the smart controls. The pads can be used in 4 different modes as well. For drums, track record, track mute or solo, or for live loops. Yes, you can use the MPK pads to launch loops and scenes in Logic's Live Loops grid, the top row for loops, the bottom row for scenes. And don't forget the screen. It gives you real-time feedback about what you're adjusting, like parameter names and values, which is helpful as well. In FL Studio, you can use the encoder knob to scroll through channels, and the transport buttons control play, stop, record, overdub, quantize, cycle to loop, undo, and redo. The 8 knobs can be switched between modes to control channel volume, channel pan, mixer volume, mixer pan, and EQ on the selected mixer track. You have multiple banks that you can scroll through with the plus and minus button. There's also a user mode where the knobs are unmapped, so you can freely assign them to whatever you want using FL Studio's multi-link to controllers feature. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're putting together your music studio, you can download my free ebook for tips on improving your setup and your workflow. You'll find a link below. Keep making the music you love, and I'll see you soon.